in the fire of actual competitive play and what is going to have to be honed for future matches. But we're here for Tempo Storm versus No Tomorrow. Let's hear from the players.
The last minute roster thing with Tempo is, of course it'll hurt them, right? There's no way that it's better for them, but I mean, they still have 4 really solid, really good players to back up this new pick. Of course, Glau is probably one of the better offlaners in NA, so it's definitely better for me to face off against him in like competitive play and stuff like that to just get better at the role, watch his rotations and stuff like that. It'll be a tough matchup for sure, but I feel like I know what he does most of the time. With Equinox being our main shot call person last split, we had a way more aggressive team fight oriented playstyle, which I guess wasn't really what for us. So this split with a new playstyle in mind and a new motivation in drafting and gameplay, it should be a lot different and it should be a lot better.
It is unfortunate having a roster swap this soon after a good international performance, but I do think that the 4 of us are still like a pretty core part of the team, and that I think even with the changes, we still expect to do very well. Whoever we do end up picking up, we can whip into shape pretty well. It's kind of hard to say how the series will go just because we're still in our tryout phase and we haven't really ironed everything out yet, and No Tomorrow's had a decent amount of time to play and get adjusted to their roster changes. So that being said, I still expect us to be the favored team and I expect us to win, and I would be disappointed if we didn't, but No Tomorrow can definitely put up a fight and can't really say how it goes until the match gets played.
Tempo Storm is a team where atmosphere is very important, and because of that, I could easily see Tempo Storm sticking with a player who we're going to see Vin today. Whether or not they end up sticking with him, a player that they can sort of mold to what they want. They've done it before. They gave June the chance to succeed way back when this team first started as Murlocs. So, and frankly, look how that turned out. Like, June is amazing. So I think it's very likely that we could see them stick with someone versus someone in the open division scene who has had a little bit more experience within the competitive division before.
You know, despite a little bit of rocky steps during part 2, I still looked at Tempo Storm as the #1, and they ended up qualifying as the #1 seed going into midseason brawl. And it was throughout the entire month of May, I kept emphasizing how good this team is. The things that they do are things that other teams here in North America aren't doing, and that's why I put them up there. So when they got that top 4 performance, it's really good. The thing about that is they've been together a while. They have the top performers, and they're like a well-oiled machine at this point. So if one of those parts, one of those nuts isn't screwed tight, can that disrupt that? I don't think that's going to be the case because, as Cattle said, that core 4 is still so strong. And if you can bring somebody in to fit that ranged role, it's pretty easy. If I got Caterpillar and June setting things up for me between that tank and support role, I know that I can hit my skill shots on a stationary target. So I think it'll be a little bit easier to fill that role and get into shape, as you said. So for them, obviously it hurts, but I think they're still in a really good spot.
I do feel like Sam played a very unique role for this team,
Yes,
though.
he did.
You know, going as far as saying like cool guy status. He played all of these heroes that they could bring in a niche setting, like Kalthazad, Kerrigan. Even his Maev was so strong at being able to help start fights for them. So I'm wondering if maybe we see Fan take more of that role and then allow for a more standardized ranged assassin to be pulled in, if that's going to be a little bit easier for them. But we're going to find out what their plan is for this series. We're starting with Cursed Hollow for game 1. That is a No Tomorrow choice. Bans happening on Battlefield of Eternity. That's a very standard Tempo Storm ban. And then Braxis Holdout is the ban for No Tomorrow. What do you think about Cursed Hollow now picked by No Tomorrow?
You know, obviously, I think this is something that you have to be coming in with a plan. And this is something that if you want to run a Vala like we saw, or prioritize the Hanzo, maybe manipulate the boss a little bit, force out rotations. Cursed Hollow, not necessarily the most well-known map that we have in rotation here in North America. So I think they're going to come in with a plan. No Tomorrow, I believe, was the team that when they had Jason on their roster, this is when they ran a Lost Vikings composition, and it was something like a 7 or 8 minute game back then. They don't have Jason anymore as he's departed from this team. So maybe this is a team that has a history of some unique strategies. So it very much could be something that we see to try and throw Tempo off.
We've still continued to assess the difference of change and having the fort towers gone. And one thing that we have started to see is some tri-laning from teams too, and that does play well into what No Tomorrow we're trying to play. The difference is what we saw from that strategy that didn't work for them was overlapping some of those safety abilities, sound barrier, sanctification, and bunker. Just the communication in general, sometimes wanting to have sound barrier probably to keep someone alive when sanctification was off cooldown and they were running away. So if we're going to see No Tomorrow return to this kind of strategy, hopefully they've had some time to review the VODs or review the replays from that last series and figure out what needs to change in order to make that a successful type of composition.
Well, they're not going to have that shot at the Hanzo, which I was alluding to. Now, with Tempo Storm, one thing that we do know with Fan, he can play that primary carry role that was very flexible. As you said, Psalm could sometimes play more utility, more setup style, and then he could do something a little bit different. Genji comes to mind for somebody like Fan, and then we look at Vin, and I was looking through some of the games that he had played. He primarily ranged hero, very standard, very meta, and can easily slide into that slot as well if needed. I don't know if they're going to give him that same type of responsibility we saw Talking Trees yesterday with Heroes Hearth, a sub for them, but definitely capable. So I still think their drafts are going to look very similar to what we expect.
That's what I wanted to mention is Talking Trees came in and played so well for Heroes Hearth, and that's a team that prides themselves and necessitates good synergy. They are a wombo team, and though they don't always run it, you know, that's where they made a name for themselves. And to have Talking Trees come in after a week of practice with them and be successful, that gives me a lot of high hopes for whomever Tempo Storm does land on as that replacement for Psalm. Genji's up still if they want to try to get that Vin hero earlier on, and they'll pick that up. We'll see if that ends up being Fan or if we do get Vin playing Genji, just like Talking Trees did yesterday.
Yeah, I think that gives them a good alternative, taking Hanzo out of that backline, somebody that does have that boss potential, good scatter arrow utility here, and somebody that Genji, depending on if that agility is available for one or the other, can get away from that dive composition. The rest of the heroes that we see, Phoenix comes to mind. Phoenix comes to mind as far as heroes that can survive against that. We saw Talking Trees use a build with the Swift Strike, Strike at the Heart at level 4, getting that bonus damage, and then going Shingun at level 13. With Phoenix's his hitbox is a little bit larger, a little bit easier to hit those and get that burst damage onto that backline hero if no warp is available. So we'll see if that's a hero that No Tomorrow will prioritize. But as we saw on Friday, it was Vala over Phoenix.
It was. And that was played by Casanova. But no Vala just yet, and that was with a Lucio. Already we're seeing No Tomorrow make the adjustment of getting Malfurion here, and then they get to Haka too. So they're going to have Tomster be able to play that global hero that has been very prevalent in North America across multiple teams as we've seen teams come back from the mid-season brawl. Globals obviously are in the meta hardcore, maybe not Falstad, but a lot of Abathur, a lot of Dahaka, a lot of ETC, even with Stage Dive to mix success.
One hero that obviously has fallen out of favor, and you and I were talking about this when we were watching the EU broadcast yesterday, is Greymane. We don't see a lot of Greymane anymore. Obviously there were some minor nerfs, but it is a hero that Casanova has performed well on and had success prior to those nerfs. We'll see if that comes back. This is actually one of Greymane's better battlegrounds. He can also give you that race potential on the boss if you need it. But either way, we've got the lockdown coming in here, Deckard and Blaze. That gives you a lot of frontline control with Blaze, the bunker, of course, and then Deckard, those heals in those choke points as well with Stay a While and Listen. Could have a major impact. I
think what was weird for me for No Tomorrow when they played versus Endemic is not... The Phoenix was a little bit weird considering Vala over Phoenix, but even Vala over Greymane, considering they played with Ethereal, maybe Tyrael Uther, but definitely Ethereal too. So we'll see if we end up getting that hero, but he has been conspicuously absent. But it is hard. He is an all-in hero, especially if you're going for the throat with him, though with Crucible it can put more of a pressure on the front line, but there's just so much more mobility with Hanzo and Genji that we've seen a lot more focus on them since they have been added to the Nexus.
Well, the priority on the Hanzo ban for Tempo Storm we'll see as we see Falstad had banned out. Now with Tempo Storm, they've already banned out one range hero. They're going to be willing to ban out another if it will be that Phoenix. We know that Tempo likes to play Jaina. We'll see if that is something they want to go or whether No Tomorrow. We know Shrite loves his mages, whether it's the Li Ming, whether it's the Jaina. So both those I think are on the board. So if Tempo Storm is trying to narrow that, they could get a little bit of mage response coming out here from No Tomorrow. So we'll see if they continue down that focus. But obviously Warrior, Maiev is going to be the ban though.
Yeah, one thing, that is an interesting ban to see from Tempo Storm, but still a strong pick, and Tempo Storm has a lot of respect for Maiev. They played quite a lot of her throughout Midseason Brawl in Part 2. And she can give a team a lot more of an engage, where maybe if Dahaka is missing his drags, these kinds of things, then she can help out a lot more with that. And No Tomorrow has proven that they would like to be aggressive. They want to be able to team fight. But here, it looks like they're a little more focused on the macro game by having the bans on 2 globals, getting Dahaka, and now we see Greymane. All right.
I mean, that screams Casanova. It's something, again, we haven't seen in a while. So Falstad, obviously, controlling the globals, as you said, has been a big priority since we've come back. So you've got the global Dahaka, potentially a second global with ETC. We've seen ETC players, especially against the Deckard, because the level 10 with Deckard, he has 2 good interrupt abilities that he can pick there to go against ETC. Again, here for Tempo Storm, Phoenix is available if you want to play against that, but can Phoenix get away from the clutches of Greymane if that go for the throat is available? If you warp out, you can still R back in. It might not necessarily be for the kill, but you can close that distance, then get 1 or 2 more autos in with one of those swipes, and then that could be a dead Phoenix. We haven't seen that yet, but just kind of throwing that out there.
And what we've seen from ETCs is Stage Dive struggles the most when it's versus Malfurion. Malfurion Jaina yesterday too, but versus Malfurion, because it's such a bullseye for the roots of Malfurion, and now No Tomorrow ensures they don't have to deal with that. They will have to possibly deal with the scroll ceiling, and Jaina is still going to be picked here to try to give a lot more burst blow up between the Jaina and the Genji and the stun locks of the rest of the team.
Well, that's the thing. You can put a circle down where the other circle is, but Deckard also has a triangle that he could put down and could have the same effect, and Jaina as well has circles of her own. A lot of geometry going in here. No Tomorrow, they've got a very good core so far. No Jaina's going to be available for them, and now with Jahan on the other side, Phoenix a little bit less appealing, going into so many auto attacks. Li Ming, again, has been a hero that Shrite has prioritized in the past, and I think this would be a good composition if you wanted to run it. But with No Tomorrow, we're still discovering what that new meta still is.
They played very melee heavy style compositions before, but I like this Li Ming a lot.
It fits the composition very well.
It does,
and
a possible double reset.
Their comfort and the composition for them. This is very different than what we saw the other day. Their drafts the other day maybe left a few people scratching their heads and trying to figure out, okay, is this going to work? It didn't work, so they're going back to the drawing board, playing something far more meta. You look at the hero pools of these players, Casanova and Shrite, that's very fitting. ETC, very fitting as a standard frontliner, so things looking much more positive here.
Yeah, I really feel like No Tomorrow took to heart what happened in their first series of the weekend. That was versus Endemic.
Yeah.
And made the necessary adjustments to come back in. This is their battleground choice. It's a very nice, well-rounded composition for Cursed Hollow 2. You have team fighting poke around the tributes. You have the Greymane to do a lot of structural damage, but be that murking hero too. And you even have a global with Dahaka to try to manipulate some rotations. I think they did a great job drafting this.
And on the other side, obviously, Genji being there and Jaina, 2 very prominent heroes for Tempo Storm. Something, again, I said their drafts probably wouldn't look much different. This is very much in their wheelhouse. The other thing is, though, as you mentioned at the beginning, the Dahaka could be the X factor here, having the global, banning out the Falstad. I think they're going to be very okay with the Jaina and the Genji, but with Fan, I imagine he's going to be on the Genji. I think we'll find out soon. That's what I'm looking forward to, is how do they approach those roles with the sub in this weekend.
We're ready to get into the game. The one thing I'm a little bit concerned about is the Blaze. Can he deny the resets, especially for Li Ming? Because that may be a particularly difficult thing for No Tomorrow to deal with, and as such, I hope that we see them be patient with that and not get over aggressive. No Tomorrow will be in the blue. That's a little bit confusing, but so it is. Casanova playing the Li Ming, Jen on ETC, Jay Shrita will be playing the Greymane. We'll switch up there. Akaface on Malfurion. And Tomster finally will be in that solo lane playing Dahaka.
Just when you think you know somebody, they go and they change up their heroes. Tempo Storm, they're making their return since a top 4 finish at the midseason brawls. Glaurung will be on that Blaze and that off lane. We know him very well. Caterpillar on Johanna, who we discovered was quite meta once we got there. Fan will indeed be on the Jaina, leaving Ven on the Genji. And of course, Deckard Cain going to be played by June here for Tempo Storm.
Welcome to HGC, Vin, for this series. And I look forward to seeing how he can play alongside such great players, such world-class players as the rest of Tempo Storm.
Gilly, this is the first time that I can remember Scroll of Identify being picked up by Deckard. You know, generally it's been the Emerald making sure to get that extra slow to get the lockdown, but this, whenever you hit an enemy with the scroll, it reveals them for 8 seconds. After hitting 20 heroes, you'll also reduce the armor, so potentially getting that blow up with Jaina and Genji. This is very unique, something I don't think I've seen yet in competitive.
Well, Greymane and ETC both have ways of giving themselves armor, and just in general being able to reduce the armor of Dahaka as he goes in, especially if Tomster finds himself overextended. Having that root and taking that armor down could be significant in helping to give that the blow up to Tempo Storm. There is some more possible armor reduction too later on. We've seen quite a bit of northern exposure from Jaina, but also Numbing Blast might be the pickup just because Greymane's going to be trying to jump in and give Li Ming those resets. Dahaka will probably be stalking in, looking to see if he can find Fan. But there is the possibility for some armor reduction fully on. Also, the very long duration once the quest is finished of identifying them, of being able to reveal, might be able to help the team chase down kills, especially looking at Vin on that Genji.
What's going to be fun to watch as both teams prioritize the night camps. We'll see who gets the more significant push. When you have a Jaina, yes, there is spell armor, but Jaina does do really well at clearing that out. We can actually see on the mini-map, Caterpillar, he's actually going to come in on the flank here on Johanna to make sure and help clean this up, get a nice condemn in there, bring everything in, and make sure and get this clear, see if they can get an advantage. And he's going to go ahead and rotate on back up, make sure not to miss any soap.
Net even trades on the Bruisers as we start. Neither team has transitioned over to getting their Giants yet. Both making sure they don't lose out on either of the towers in the mid. Very important to them. But now Tempo Storm with a slightly swifter rotation to start getting those Giants ahead of the tribute phase. Will be happening very soon.
I want to point out something that for a team like No Tomorrow, when you start to approach these small things a little bit differently, when you see Caterpillar, this reminds me of one of the Korean teams versus one of the Chinese teams when we were at mid-season brawl. That rotation back up by Caterpillar, he was down there to help clear and then rotate back up to make sure not to miss soak. One of the things that you can do is to simply dismount him. The minute he mounts, you can dismount him, then it's a 3-second cooldown to mount again, and it denies XP from the top because Dahaka has that clear to get that through. I think if No Tomorrow can start finding those moments on the front line, getting those dismounts, it can separate them a little bit further and start making small steps. Those are just things that you see more at the upper end. I think those are things they can maybe find in the future.
Another thing, No Tomorrow switching to put Dahaka in the bottom lane so that he can siege against this tribute and force Tempo Storm to decide, do they want to bring Blaze up and allow Dahaka to clear out those Giants and start putting some damage on the towers, or do they have to keep Blaze there and then No Tomorrow, after clearing out the Giants, might be able to bring Dahaka up and have a man advantage for this. But Greymane and Genji still in the mid. Neither team is willing to give up the soak in the race to 7. It's very important to them that they continue to keep that soak up and not devote too many resources to this tribute.
Well, right now, Ocface is going to start the channel. We'll see if we can get nice space melt there. There's going to be the scroll going down, getting the interrupt and forcing Ocface to walk away. We also see a change up on the build for Jaina, getting that extra poke, making sure when you have the potential calamity as Ven, does he have some mobility just out of range of the power side? But you get the extra poke range, but if you're going to go the extra poke range, you're still going to need mana, so Arcane Intellect picked up here at level 4.
We also saw Sins Exposed, which has been a favored pick, just adding more to the damage that already a damage is abounding in Tempo Storm's composition. Caterpillar is going forward. We're going to drop down the Scroll of Sealing, which hits a couple Condemn, trying to get more in there as Vin comes back up. Blaze has gone to the mid now, which allows 4 people from Tempo Storm to be here. We'll see if Glaurung goes back down. It looks like yes, but it has pulled Greymane back to the mid. This is maybe a chance for Tempo Storm to get aggressive and try to pick up this tribute.
I think they're going to try, but I think if Blaze shows bottom, this might be the opportunity that Dahaka comes up. If they can get the interrupt, they actually don't get the interrupt, so Dahaka's going to stay down. Sometimes we see that rotations where if you are double soaking, then eventually when you come down, you have the global, then they'll go. But we actually saw really good zoning control there by Tempo Storm to make sure that wasn't even an option. Maybe it would have been there for No Tomorrow, but needless to say, Tempo held their ground well and did not overcommit, giving that respect to the global, which does have quite an impact on these games, but still able to win out.
Yeah, that's the nice thing about that Arcane Intellect is that Fan can stay in those fights for a lot longer because he's getting some of the mana back. And talking about that scroll of Identify, still working on the stacks definitely, but now with seeing Eyes in the Dark, this may be something where Greymane is not as safe disengaging and relying on the stealth as he would have been otherwise. We'll have to see. Tempo Storm starting an early boss because of the positioning of that tribute. It's a dangerous position to go into, and knowing that No Tomorrow is going to want to get that, given that Tempo Storm already got the first one, we're just going to be able to get this boss, and nobody even starting the boss for No Tomorrow.
Well, Arcane Intellect definitely, it paid off there. Jaina walked away with 100% health, but also that cooldown reduction on your level 7 makes that a lot easier. Without that, I don't think they have the damage. But it's an interesting timing on that, and this is one of the things that Greymane does well, is to take structures. It's something you mentioned in the draft period, and right there, it's very evident that when Greymane's left alone, he can get a lot of work done. So there will be a cleanup of the boss, very early, 5-minute boss in, so it doesn't do a tremendous amount, but unless it's responded to, this minion wave and boss could get a decent amount done.
10 almost here. No Tomorrow diving deep to get this kill on Glaurung, and they get it just before heroic abilities, just before he might have been able to bunker. And that's unfortunate for Tempo Storm, who were starting to rotate in, change up a plan, put Jaina on the bruisers, get some more push going, but heroic abilities now available for both the teams, and a lot in consideration.
Well, that boss and the minions almost got that down, but with that tribute, Tempo Storm was obviously rotating down. They're trying to prepare for this. There's going to be here. They're going to get a camp pushing. No curse point available, but forcing out rotations again with Dahaka does make that a bit easier, but No Tomorrow wants to mitigate some of the potential damage that comes in by picking up this camp for themselves.
Mosh was the choice for ETC over stage dive. Singular global is enough for them. They want to be able to make some plays. Lornado chosen as a result of that. Lower cooldown to try to make sure that they interrupt at all times. We see the water elemental with the blessed shield. Jhin in a heap of danger, and he's swiped down by Vin, who gets hit by the Twilight Dream.
He's going to get locked down even more, as there's going to be that Lornado that goes out, pulls him back in. I don't know if he would have made it out, but as you said, short cooldown. And with that much potential dive and melee, you got to respect that. Stay while and listen. Not this time. Lornado and chokes all day, every day is what June says, and that's going to lead to the first 2 kills for Tempo Storm.
There's Giants here in the bottom and a boss available. Tempo Storm rotating back out to keep the soak going because the tribute is going to be up toward the top 2. Well, they looked like they were starting to go up toward the tribute, but instead just focusing on taking down this fort here, get more of an experience advantage, a structural advantage too, and get a lot more out of that boss if they are able to take it at some point.
Well, this camp being cleared up here by Glaurung in the mid as best it can, and as you said, them staying down here. Again, those fort walls, not so strong anymore, but getting the entire fort down, that's when the experience starts to come in. If they get this up, it's one of those weird situations where if you're No Tomorrow, do you delay the cap? Yes, you're going to get 2, but is it even going to matter if Greymane even makes it out of here alive, hops into Worgen form, gets some armor? Team
Lornado.
Oh man, that's locking him in.
That it was. Akaface is going to fall victim to that too as he goes down. Bunker to avoid the boss slam, and with the double kill, or with the kill on Akaface, Tempo Storm feels confident to start working on this boss. But remember, a lot of heroic abilities were used for that. Is this something that No Tomorrow can punish without their support? They're going to try.
Especially with Mosh Pit available, that's the scariest part. Bless Shield and Lornado both used, still 10 seconds out on that cooldown. That boss has been fully leashed now, and I think they respected that. The minute Jhin started to come in, they're like, guys, we might not have the tools to deal with this. We'll fight another day.
Yeah, No Tomorrow has proven versus Endemic that though, you know, they're still figuring out some things in drafting and shot calling, they are more than willing to punish you when you make an over-aggressive call like that. They did it to Endemic. Endemic had to climb all the way back into Sky Temple after losing that boss, and Tempo Storm will not make the same mistake or not allow the same thing to happen to them. Well done. There is a tribute spawning though, and with this 13 advantage, Tempo Storm are going to get the curse, so No Tomorrow, we're just going to have to play the patient game. They do have 2 tributes behind this though, so no matter what structural damage is done for Tempo Storm, hopefully No Tomorrow, once they can get back into an even level, then they can try to get a fight and a curse of their own.
Well, I like what they did in regards to just conceding that. They didn't have 13, so they got the Siege Giants. That will help a little bit. Use Dahaka up there. They just have to have somebody soft clear bottom because there's no fort, so Tempo Storm cannot reliably push down bot lane as comfortably. It's a decision they can make. It's a little bit riskier. So then they know that they are just going to concede the mid fort. It's just a matter of, with the remaining 35 seconds, can No Tomorrow find an opportunity to maybe come in and fight now that they're 13? Do they get just double fort and call it a day? With that boss that they picked up earlier, we'll have to check on the cooldown of that on when that respawns.
30 seconds.
I really like No Tomorrow's approach here.
Yeah, it's patient, and it shows maturity from that too, that they're not trying to force the issue. They do need to be careful. Water Elemental on one side, Lornado on the other, and Jin is not allowed to control where he wants to go.
Still got to be careful. Bless Shield is still an option. Right now, Johanna is kind of the one. Bless Shield is out, but he's taking so much damage. It's going to be the power slide out. He stands the mosh pit, but the Twilight Dream was enough to keep Genji locked down, and now the drag's going to be landed there by Tomster. That is 2 members down. No Tomorrow making a play. Jin, you could see he's trying to make the playmaker, but Akaface was the one that set that one up, Gilly.
Akaface, Dahaka, and the mosh pit, everything so fast from No Tomorrow to deal with Vin. They knew he was like to come in after the fact, after Johanna was there, and all of them so swiftly responded to lock him down so that he couldn't get any value from that Dragon Blade. That was awesome from No Tomorrow. And now because of that, they get to rotate out and get their boss. They start to get some pressure on the board. And remember, they are now not too far behind here. They still have 1 fort left, even through the curse of Tempo Storm.
Yeah, the way that they handled that, Gilly, could not have gone better for them. And again, with Greymane on this map, he does race bosses very well. And you could see Jin, the scouting, the discipline of this team to make sure not to give up too much. You don't want to evenly trade there. He came up there, checked the bush, and it was enough to warrant because Tempo Storm had no eyes on the map to figure out who was where. And so now the advantage over to No Tomorrow. They pick up 1 boss. They're looking like they might want to feign for the second, but I think Tempo knows this boss will potentially go through that fort, but the Siege Giants were picked up. Going to limit some of that damage that could potentially come in. So good response by Tempo, but No Tomorrow still feeling good.
Yeah, and the Bruisers picked up by Tempo. They knew that No Tomorrow was like to go to their own boss, and then having that Bruisers slows down the rotations here and shows when the rotations start. It's so much so that Tempo Storm swiftly went up to the top lane, took out that fort, so that they are maintaining just a slight experience advantage. The next tribute is also going to be in a good positional spot for Tempo Storm. We want to start getting set up before No Tomorrow can get into position for that.
Well, Jen, 10 seconds away before Mosh Pit is back. There's the boss. Again, because it had to go through the Siege Giants, there are no minions because that also stalls the minions behind that. They don't have the push power that you get. Maybe gets that gate down and no towers. So good response by Tempo. They're getting close to 16. Tribute here in their favor. We'll see No Tomorrow's response this time because with that boss up, it is a threat. Now, I don't know if they'll be 16 in time, but they're doing their best as Dahaka and bot lane and the rest of the team getting camps on the rest of the map.
Yeah, a lot of people off map for Tempo Storm. You saw the checking of the bush around that tribute, but Tempo Storm now seeing the Bruisers be taken, soon the Giants too. They're going to start working on this boss. Does No Tomorrow make it over in time? Are they willing to come over here in time? Jin's going to be here.
Yeah, but Li Ming has already shown. That's the problem, is Li Ming showed to those minions trying to get 16. So if Jin does rip this mosh pit, which it looks like he's going to do, there's 2 members down. Bless Shield was used. There's going to be a Twilight Dream in response, Gilly.
Yeah, but the bunker is keeping Tempo Storm alive and on the point as they cycle out. Fan, though, dies to Jay Shritta in the back. The boss taken by Tempo Storm. Then is starting to swipe through all of No Tomorrow with a low health bar, but it's enough. Scroll of Sealing. No Tomorrow is wiped as Tempo Storm gets a pentakill.
If you want to come in as a sub and you want to look good, play Genji.
Dragon Blade on a boss point.
With Lornado and Scroll of Sealing going down, that
yeah, there was a 3-man scroll, I think. That was devastating.
Yeah, you can see No Tomorrow, they had it there, but I think the minute Leaving showed, we knew that Tempo Storm could fully commit, and you could see that on the minimap, trying to get 16. And I think that that was one of those risks that you had the Siege Giants. You can defend at keep wall, maybe lose keep wall at most, maybe take a fight behind the boss. Instead, you take the high-risk play. You get the low reward at this point because that low reward is a loss, and that's going to be a keep loss here for No Tomorrow as this boss doing work in his top lane. Sets up a potential win condition now, so Tempo Storm stretching the lead a little bit, picking up the pace.
No Tomorrow are back. Tribute will be spawning in 15 seconds, and they leave the boss. They know that they've already lost the keep, and the core can clean up the rest of it. It's more important they try to get back out here now, and if not getting the tribute, get a fight that puts them back into a position where they can control this game. They've done it once. They want to do it again here. Tempo Storm, that's the one fight that No Tomorrow could get to get back in this game, so they decide they'll just tank the curse.
Yeah, that's the best thing I think that Tempo Storm could do. They understand they can play towards the 20 tier. Even if they give up one structure, it's not super condemning. That top lane really pushed out. They can soak 20 in the meantime. They're going to give up mid fort, but it might be No Tomorrow's chance to be super aggressive here to try and get back in, because after this moment, they're going to be down 20 tier. And eventually, but I think that you can give up one more tribute, but that second tribute, giving up another curse, might be too much to overcome. So they're looking to be somewhat aggressive here, get some of these keep walls down and try and get some of that experience back. And if they find a pick, they're definitely going to try and take it.
There's also the concern of the bot boss, along with that 20 will be available about 30 seconds after Tempo Storm weathers the storm, the curse of No Tomorrow. No Tomorrow are desperate for a keep. They want to have a win condition open of their own. They're going to power slide in. That scroll of sealing its maximum amounts of damage with that scroll of Stone Curse, a double kill in the blink of an eye.
The minute you power slide in as an ETC, you better be ready as a team to commit the kill. As Shrite, he goes in, tries to trade out. Vin actually took a decent amount of damage there from Greymane, unable to get the kill. And now with that, it's Casanova, and this is a very long retreat.
That it is. Casanova will try to finish the job that Jay Shrite started, taking out Vin. But Tempo Storm keeps him alive, and only Dahaka remains as Tempo Storm starts to march toward the base of No Tomorrow.
Yeah, it looks like they're going to try and get more keep structures down, actually.
Yeah, the boss is ready behind this in
They're using
now.
the bunker to soak shots and go through. I mean, Li Ming's still 30 seconds away. I don't want to say this is super risky. There's still a mosh pit available, but the damage isn't there. Dahaka just now making it back. Shields have already fallen 80% and going down. Jen has to make the play of the game right here. There's going to be the mosh pit. It only locks in one. Fan still a priority. Can they get the takedown on Deckard? They get Jaina. They get Deckard. No, they don't. 10% and falling. Tempo Storm looks like they're going to have just enough to take game number one. A little bit risky, a little bit, but Fan dodged that power slide. Make sure he didn't get caught in the mosh pit. That helps.
The bunker on the keep, I was then, oh no, you don't have bunker for the core, but that turned out fine because it soaked the shots. No one was slowed down. They were able to quickly get on the core. Then I was like, yeah, but bottomless flask is really good when you're on the core to just be able to have that. Turns out June didn't pick a 20 talent, so never mind.
No 20 needed, he
Nope.
said. It's fine.
We can do this in style.
Yeah, I mean, it was a little bit risky, but it's a calculated risk.
Mm-hmm.
They've been around the block a time or two. Pretty easy for them to finish the job. But I think if that power slide lands on a Jaina, maybe it gets down to, and they save it, but was all for naught. But No Tomorrow showed some fight. And I think they were correct in the bottom lane push to make sure and be somewhat aggressive. But the minute Jin slides in, and he has mosh pit, and you look at that again, there's like 2 members at the top, 1 member back, and then a couple there, and they're waiting for him. They are calling for it. I guarantee somewhere in comms is wait for power slide, wait for power slide. And the minute that power slide goes out, June just rips that scroll, and from then it's lights out.
But what has continued to impress me, both in the Endemic series and now in this game too, is that No Tomorrow is identifying those moments that they need to take a fight, they need to punish something, and they are finding those moments that set the game to as close to even as they can. You know, versus Endemic on Sky Temple, it was that boss play. Here, it was the very fast punishment of Vin. After the Blessed Shield went out, they were more than willing to say, come in with the Dragon Blade, you're not going to leave. So for that, it worked out for them that they were able to start making those plays. It's just unfortunate that they got maybe a little bit too aggressive along with that boss.
Yeah, that top boss, I think they could have given up. But you want to talk about punishment, a team like Tempo Storm will punish you probably harder than anybody. You make one mistake, they'll punish you. When you make a big mistake and you lose all 5 members of the team, that mistake
They'll
is,
win the game.
Yeah, that mistake is a lot bigger. So for Tempo Storm, being able to pick up a 5-man and a 4-man in those fights, that's pretty significant and very hard to overcome if you're on the side of No Tomorrow. But that's just game 1 of this best of 5.
Well, there are 2 great teams that you should be cheering for in chat in this series, and you guys have been cheering all weekend long for quite a while now. We're going to take a look at the global cheer bar as it continues to climb closer and closer to that 13 million, already unlocking a lot of rewards. You guys can unlock some sweet in-game items too, so you can show which teams you really like. Jay, who are you going to be rocking? Whose flair are you going to be rocking this weekend after seeing them play?
When you catch me in game this week.
Okay, here we go.
I'm just putting down a standard HGC logo. I'm kidding. Endemic. Endemic is my pick for this week.
All right.
The colors.
Yeah.
And the
logo.
The logo.
Panther.
That's pretty cool.
It's pretty dope.
By the way, NBA fans, Paul George.
You were wrong.
Paul George signed with the Thunder.
You were wrong.
Yesterday's broadcast has been erased. I've made sure that all VODs have
Dang
been
it!
deleted.
I
at least
wrote
on the
it-
part with
I
the-
wrote it down even. I was like, J-How, guess what? Paul George, the Thunder. And I was going to make some sort of storm meme because Gale Force Esports, you ruined it. Let's just go to the map. I can't even. I can't even. That's how he gets me back for the Horde stuff.
Oh, no, I'm getting you back more than that. I've already
No,
sent the
that's
tweet
enough.
out. I'm waiting for feedback. I'm not very creative when I'm here on the desk. I'm waiting for feedback on what I really need to do. The real memers out there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I'm scared.
should be. There's some pretty crazy memers out.
Careful, Brightwing is my friend over here, and she will not be a fan if you do anything unsavory.
Oh, and you have a jersey over there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Wait, Brightwing's part of the Horde?
she is now. I'm pretty sure fairy dragons are just like, whoever gives me food, slash
Doesn't she
whoever
eat
is
people?
really fun. Yeah, but like if you
Like
give
in her
her
trailer, she's
tastier
eating
food.
somebody.
Yeah, probably an alliance person.
Probably somebody smaller than myself, because.
J-Ho, I got you a coaster for your drink if you're thirsty. Do you?
Oh yeah, what is? Oh,
I knew he was gonna. You're like one of those cats. You just swipe stuff off the desk.
just casually like I knock it off the desk, and once it's gone, I'm not interested anymore.
Well, I'm interested in game 2. We're going to Dragonshire.